Hello, the Pioneer viewers. We're bringing you the most striking developments from the shadow of war. Today's story doesn't come from the front lines, but from voices rising in the heart of Russia itself. The ongoing conflict's toll isn't paid only by soldiers at the front. Their families and the villages they left behind are paying it too. A recent uprising in a Russian village has become one of the most powerful examples of this reality. Mothers, fathers, and relatives in the village rose up, demanding answers about their sons who were conscripted and sent to the front. Days turned into weeks, then months, yet no official statement was made. No reliable information shared about their children's fate. The patience in the village ran dry. People don't want to stay silent anymore. They want to know if their sons are alive or dead. But information about these villagers raising their voices isn't reaching the public. News about what's happening is being systematically blocked. According to limited reports from the region, reactions in the village are escalating. People aren't just crying out individually, they're organizing mass demonstrations. Authorities' attempts to suppress these protests haven't calmed the villagers' anger. They've fueled it. Because there's a much deeper problem here. People can't reach their loved ones, and the state chooses to remain silent about it. Behind this uprising lies the rising human cost of war and young men sent to the front who never return. Moreover, the desperation these families face isn't limited to just one village. Similar reports are coming from different regions across Russia. But most of the time, these developments are covered up and kept out of the national press. Let's take a closer look at what's unfolding. To continue producing detailed content about the Russia-Ukraine conflict, we need your support. You can provide it by hitting the like button and leaving a comment. Also, when commenting, don't forget to mention what content you'd like to see on our channel. In one of Russia's interior regions, in a small village where silence and stillness usually reign, a massive storm has erupted in recent days. Normally, daily life here consists of fieldwork, tending livestock, and casual conversation between neighbors. Now, this village has become the epicenter of a fierce rebellion. Military authorities forcibly conscripting young men, sharing zero information about these young men's fate, and families unable to get any news about their children. All of this ignited years of accumulated rage among the villagers. What lit the fuse was the military trucks that rolled into the village square. Just days ago, nearly all the young men in the village were loaded onto these trucks and sent to the front. Families couldn't find out where their children were taken, which unit they joined, or whether they were still alive. In the early days, questions were asked of authorities, petitions were written, people waited outside the village administration building. But the answer was always the same: no information available. This uncertainty drove everyone crazy, from elderly women to young fathers. The first spark of rebellion emerged the day several mothers gathered in the square, demanding to know where their children were. Other villagers who joined them initially offered quiet support. Then the crowd grew, and anger turned into shouting. Mothers carrying their children's photographs blocked the military officials' path, demanding answers. In those moments, the villagers' silence shattered with screams that had been suppressed for years. Authorities moved quickly to bring the situation under control, but this time they weren't facing a docile, frightened crowd. People began resisting with sticks and stones in their hands. Villagers blocked military trucks and stopped them from passing. those about to be detained linked arms in chains. This scene was the image of a social uprising rarely seen in the country's countryside. A major blackout was implemented to prevent news of what was happening from spreading. Internet connections suddenly cut off. The villagers' contact with the outside world was almost completely severed. Phone lines were either not working or constantly gave busy signals. Military officials blocked entry and exit to the village to ensure no footage leaked to the press. Despite this, information spread by word of mouth, reaching surrounding villages. The rumor X village is in revolt quickly spread across a wide area and inspired courage in the hearts of families with similar concerns. Villagers gather every night around a large fire they built in the center of the square, calling out their children's names one by one. These ceremonies are both a mourning ritual and an act of resistance. Mothers hold up photographs in their hands towards the fire, chanting, "Give us back our children." Fathers express years of suppressed anger, challenging the authorities. The most striking moment showing the scale of the uprising came the night when military units stationed at the village entrance were forced to retreat. Faced with the crowd's determined resistance, soldiers couldn't succeed despite harsh intervention. Villagers who refused to back down blocked roads with tractors and set up barricades. This wasn't an ordinary village brawl. It had transformed into a mass-scale rebellion. Now the village is essentially under siege. Food supplies are restricted. Electricity is cut off frequently. But despite this, breaking the resistance hasn't been possible. Villagers are trying to stay standing in solidarity. They're sharing each other's homes, dividing their bread. Women hold sit-ins in the square during the day, while men keep watch at night. They seem to have vowed not to back down until they hear news about their children. Similar whispers have started coming from different regions of Russia. In many villages that sent their children to the front, mothers and fathers are asking the same questions. Where are ours? Why isn't anyone telling us anything? But in other villages, fear still dominates. That's why this particular uprising stands out as one of the country's largest rural revolts. If this village's resistance can't be crushed, it could spread to other villages in a domino effect. The state's massive blackout isn't enough to deny the scale of events. A few short videos that made it to social media show hundreds of people gathered in the square chanting slogans, military vehicles being stoned, and women crying out their children's names. These images resonated deeply with everyone who saw them because the issue is no longer just about one village's children. It's become a question about the fate of tens of thousands of young men sent to the front. While resistance in the village continues, what step the authorities will take remains unclear. Harsher interventions could lead to bloodshed, but this possibility only strengthens the villagers' determination, because for them, there's no turning back now. They'll either learn their children's fate or risk everything for this cause. This uprising also exposes an invisible wound opened on Russia's internal front. Losses at the front are bringing to the surface anger that's been suppressed within the country. The rural population that has stayed silent and submissive for years is now giving one of its strongest reactions. This may be one of the most mass-scale popular movements seen in many years. As developments unfold rapidly, one thing is certain. That small village is no longer just an ordinary village. It has become the symbol of a rebellion that will go down in history. So, what do you think? Will this uprising grow? Does the Russian government have a chance to suppress this rebellion? Let us know in the comments. We read and value your opinions.